For those of you who know, I'm absolutely so excited about Slammiversary. I sit here and I watch an interview with Mike Santana. He talks about his battle with drug problems, going to rehab, and what that meant for him after leaving AEW, thinking his whole life was over because he was in rehab and this was the end. Obviously, I hope the best for Mike Santana. I hope he continues. Uh, I hope the best for him because he truly is got a comeback story, and it makes me even more excited about Slammiversary and the idea that he's going to win this thing. Mike Santana's talking about losing his dad in 2020 and how his dad had a problem with drugs, and he kind of followed in his footsteps. How his dad was his role model. It's sad, but I mean, if he wins this Sunday at Slammiversary, it is going to be the best story that's been told in wrestling, at least in a very long, long time. It it doesn't get any better than this. He said his father was blind and was facing depression as well. Um, Obviously, I've expressed some of my mental health problems that I've had, so I can sympathize with that as well. I just the layers and layers and layers and layers. The more I hear, um, I really want Mike Santana to win the World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary. He deserves it. Um, it's just tremendous. Just the thought of it is tremendous. And my ex-wife, was blind, so I can completely relate with that as well. Just the layers of this is so thick. Mike Santana said that when he had his daughter, he set his father down and said, "We need to have a talk. We need to have a heart to heart." And that's when his father wanted to understand what he was going through. And this is just deep shit, man. This is good, um, good job, Ariel, for doing this interview. Mike Santana said that his father told him that he couldn't be the father that he wanted to be, and that ate him up. And that's just deep, man. I mean, because he was blind, he knew he couldn't chase those dreams that he wanted to chase, and that's just it's not fair. It's really truly at the end of the day, it's just not fair. It sounds like that this right here could be put in the mental health playlist and the wrestling playlist, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Mike Santana says that his father's presence was the biggest present he could ever get, and it meant everything to him. And I know where this is headed next, that he lost his father and how devastating that was going to be. You can tell Mike Santana gets emotional. He said he would be tripping at all the shit that's going on, talking about being in line to be the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion. It could really happen this Sunday, folks. If you don't order this pay per view, you truly are missing out. If you're a wrestling fan, you are missing out. This is I want to say this is the greatest story that's ever been told, but this has got to be one of the best stories that's ever been told in TNA history. I mean, if they pull the trigger and they do it and they go through with it, it will be the greatest TNA story that's ever been told. I know they had so much potential with the Bobby Roode James Storm feud, but it didn't. It fell flat at the end. It wasn't at Bound for Glory. It wasn't James Storm beating Bobby Roode at Bound for Glory. The story fell flat. This story has the potential to be the story, and it's got the build. When James Storm beat Kurt Angle for the title, it had no build whatsoever. When Austin Aries won the World Heavyweight title against Bobby Roode after long Bobby Roode reigning as world champion, it had no build whatsoever. This has had the build, it's tremendous storyline, and it can have the payoff. And then with the rumors that AJ Styles is going to be a part of this event, I, I'm sitting beside myself at the idea of how good Slammiversary is going to be. Mike Santana is headlining at the UBS Arena in New York, his hometown. His hometown. Can you imagine the emotion thinking about his father, thinking about where the position he is. He's going to be a pillar of the wrestling industry. He he could potentially be the next world heavyweight champion of a wrestling company that's on the verge of scoring its biggest television deal ever. This is huge for him personally, for the company. This is the biggest night in TNA's history. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is the biggest night in TNA history. He said he was in Jacksonville for AEW, and on New Year's Eve, he got the call that his father had passed away. Just, and man, the story's embedded with wrestling. It's so deep. He said they were all together for Christmas Day. Obviously, this led to Mike Santana self-medicating, choosing drugs to numb the pain. And this is a story, if there's ever been a story. And hopefully we never have to go back to this story where Mike Santana relapses and goes down the dark tunnel again. Hopefully this is the story where Mike Santana overcomes all his demons and rises to the top, wins the World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary. And and if TNA doesn't pull the trigger on this one, they really dropped the ball. This will be the biggest ball they've ever dropped. They really dropped the ball because everything is out there. This is just a story that tells itself, and I cannot imagine. I hope when he wins the title that they give him enough time where he can celebrate with the crowd on air, because it will be an emotional moment. He died in 2020. He didn't go to rehab until 23. He used 3 years of turmoil in the path of um, in the demons, just chasing the demons. I mean, this potentially has a great could be the story that overcomes. But let's be honest, we've seen it with Jeff Hardy, then we've seen it with so many guys who've died. We've seen it with Test. We've seen it with Eddie Guerrero. We've seen this story where it looks good and then it turns ugly and it leads to death. And I don't want that to be this. I don't want that to be this. And I hope Mike Santana gets his moment at Slammiversary, and I hope it changes his life forever. I hope he becomes a true champion of life. And there's so much emotion in me hearing this story because I've recently been talking a lot about Owen Hart and what he meant to me and how I feel like he got robbed because he didn't choose a path of drugs. He just died because he was scared of heights, and just an awful situation there too. But I think of Eddie Guerrero, who fought drugs and fought drugs and fought drugs and ultimately lost that war. And I just want Mike Santana to be different. I want him to break the mold. I think he has the ability to. I pray he has the ability to. When Ariel asked him, "What kind of person were you in that 3 years?" he literally said, "Not a person that I liked." He said he never did drugs to have fun. I can't relate because every time I ever got drunk, I did it to get drunk. I did it to have a blast. So I can't imagine doing it to literally be a medicine. He was doing it because he wanted it as a medicine to get better, to feel better. I always drink to get drunk. So that just must be a hole in your heart. He said, "Gutter to glory, you have to walk through the fire sometimes." What a true statement that is. If you don't know how low you can go unless you've been on top of the mountain, and you can't get on top of the mountain unless you go in the valley. You'll never know what it's like to be high if you've never been low. You'll never know what it's like to be low if you've never been high. You gotta walk through the fire. It's such a true statement. I'm appreciating Mike Santana more now than ever. I just want this guy to win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He said he needed rock bottom. I can relate. I can totally relate. I know when I was going through my mental health stuff, I was literally seeing dinosaurs running around the front yard, thinking cars going to get mental health and going to the hospital, thinking cars were dinosaurs running up the road. I needed that to hit rock bottom. I needed to hit the bottom, so knew that I needed medicine to get better. Because if I hadn't hit rock bottom, I might have thought I could do it myself. When I hit this low point, I said, "There's no way I can do it myself." I knew at that point why people put guns in their mouths and blow their brains out. Now, I never thought about suicide, but I knew why people did because it's you have to hit rock bottom sometimes. And I understand what he means when he said he needed to hit rock bottom. Ariel shows a graphic of a wristband, and he says he realized it was the day to take. He hit rock bottom, and it was the day to change his life, or he was gonna die. That's deep shit. I know what those wristbands. I know what it means when you have those wristbands on and you look down at them and you go, "Holy shit, I'm here. I'm in the gutter. I'm as low as it goes." I was strapped to a table because I was losing my mind so much. I was throwing security guards around a hospital because I had completely lost my mind, and they were doing nothing but trying to help me, and I had just lost my mind. I'm a big motherfucking dude, and I was just throwing um, security guards around like they were nothing, and that was just pure adrenaline on top of having lost my mind. Um, I know about those wristbands and they strapping me to the table and just having bruises on my wrist. And man, it's not fun, but it is necessary to correct the problem. Rock bottom is necessary, and I understand. I'm emotionally attached to Mike Santana because he has went in such depth. And Ariel deserves an award for getting this interview and letting it go down this route. It's tremendous. He goes on to say he got a letter from his daughter, and his daughter just wanted him to stop. I cannot even imagine if my son wrote me a letter, if I was facing addiction or even mental health. Um, I couldn't imagine. Thank God that I never got that letter because I think it would kill me. He said his daughter knew because he wouldn't come home for days, and that wasn't like him. He said he always took his daughter to school in the morning and always picked her up. And when he quit doing it, she noticed. He said when you're an addict, you're selfish. Well, when you have mental health problems and you completely have lost your mind and you can't decipher reality from fiction, um, you're selfish. You think everybody's lying. I know personally, I thought everybody was lying to me. Even people that loved me, I thought were out to get me. I became very delusional. I couldn't separate. So I get it. I understand. You're selfish and you cannot control it. He said his rock bottom was getting the letter from his daughter and then getting another letter from his grandmother. My rock bottom was when I came back home and my mother started telling me the horror stories because I didn't remember anything. My brain was completely just basically fried. Um, when my mother started telling me the kind of stuff I did, like I took over the steering wheel as she was taking me to the hospital one time, and I tried to take the car, and I was like, "Are you scared to die? Because I ain't motherfucking scared to die." Uh, I said, "I'll run this car right into this tree," and I literally was trying to run the car into a tree going down the road. I had completely lost my mind, and uh, it's unreal. And the support my mother has given me is off the charts. I couldn't do nothing without her, and just really, really, really I get it. I get it. I never had a problem with addiction, but I know what it's like to have a mental illness, and I know what it's like to struggle. And I know that when you're in rehab, a lot of those people in there are for drug addiction. So we're in there together with people who are suffering from mental illness, and it is a difference. There is a clear difference. Um, because I used to get very mad because they used to basically always drug test me, and I was like, I'm not on drugs. I don't do drugs, and they just get so mad every time it seemed like they were accusing me of being a drug addict. They just didn't know, and they were trying to do what help me the best way they knew how. And one of the best ways they know is to decipher if it is drugs or if you're really truly having mental problems. It's probably got something to do with the medicine they choose to give you. Because if your problem is because of drugs, then you have to quit drugs. Um, but if your problem is because of mental illness, you have to take the correct medicine, and you can be addicted to the medicines they give you and be trying to bait them into giving you certain medicines. So it's a messy mental illness and drug addiction is a messy way. It's really messy treating it. He said he was in rehab for 30 days. I never did 30 days in rehab. I did about 18 to 20 days. I think it was around that amount of time. I know when you get to the end and you start coming, as soon as you come down back to reality, or mental illness breakdown for me personally, the first thing I want to do is go home. I want to go home. Of course, nobody's gonna let you go home because they don't know that you're through it. But when you're through it, when I was through it, I knew it. I knew I had come out the other side, and I just immediately wanted to go home. And usually, at the point where you know you are okay to go home, you have to stay another week or two. So usually, I had gotten right within 3 days because for me personally, I didn't sleep going. So what would happen to me would be I wouldn't sleep for one time. I didn't sleep for 12 days, and I don't even think that's possible. I know you don't, but I didn't sleep for 12 days, and it means I was hallucinating tremendously. So just sleeping for 3 days straight after I slept for 3 days, because what they do is they bore you to death. They give you nothing to do. They take your phones. They take everything away from you that can entertain you, and you have no choice but to go to sleep. I mean, they bore the living shit out of you, and it works. And and you go to sleep and you feel better, and then eventually you go to sleep again, and you start getting back into a sleeping pattern. That was how rehab worked for me, and because I would just quit sleeping. So when I would when I quit sleeping, they would have to get me back to a sleep pattern, and I would be corrected. I would be good. As soon as I slept, one night I felt great and was ready to go home. After 2 nights, I felt even better and was ready to go home. 3 nights, and then after 3 nights, I knew I was good. I just had to go to sleep, had to keep doing the routine, and eventually they were going to let me go home. But because my behavior would not be erratic anymore, I could complete sentences. I I I was no longer acting erratic, and I know what it's like to want to go home really, really bad. He told his daughter that daddy's sick and I have to go away to see some doctors, which is the truth. When you're sick, you're sick. He said he promised when he came back, daddy would be better. I could have never promised that because first time I went in, I didn't know I was going to get better. I didn't even know that was the cure. Uh, I was just, I wanted to do something, but I didn't know there was a cure. I thought it was completely unfixable. And I was glad to find out there was a cure. But I didn't know I was going to get better. I didn't believe I was going to get better. I thought I was going to die. I haven't mentioned yet, but I quit eating. I quit drinking. I I had skin because I'm a big guy. I had skin that was just flapping because I had lost so much weight. Um, I've become nothing but skeleton. He said his daughter said, "Am I going to have food? Am I going to have a bed to sleep in?" That's just unbelievable. He said they allowed him. visits halfway through to speak to his, but he couldn't mentally do it. He couldn't tell. He couldn't allow his daughter to see him in the position he was in. Well, I called home. I called my mother. I was so out of it in the beginning because they allowed me to have phone calls much earlier, almost like the second day. And I had they gave me a little sheet of paper with a phone number on it. Well, my mind again, I was crazy. I seen the phone number, and I thought a second coming from Jesus Christ had given me this phone number, which I didn't think it was a phone number. I thought it was lottery, the winning lottery numbers. I thought a higher power had given me the winning lottery numbers. I ate this. I would memorize the number, but I can't. I have horrible memory, so I'd memorize the number. I'd immediately go call my mom and say, "Hey, mom, we're gonna hit the lottery. Um, I got the winning lottery numbers," and I would give it to her, and and then I would ask the nurse for a new number because I had ate the number, and I did this over and over and over again. I would eat the number, eat the sheet of paper with my phone number, with my mother's phone number on it. I'd eat it, thinking it was the winning lottery numbers. I'd go tell her, and my mom finally put it together. The number that I'm eating, because she's like, "That's my fucking phone number." She didn't tell me, but she knew that was her phone number. And she's like, she eventually asked to speak to the nurse. And the nurse says he keeps losing his phone number. Your phone number. He keeps losing your phone number. And she said, yeah, he's eating it because he thinks it's the winning lottery number. You got to tell him that's not the winning lottery number. That's your mother's phone number. Quit eating the number. This happened. Oh, it went on for almost a week straight. That's how out of my mind I was. That's how selfish I was. Um, just unreal. He says he's been sober for 881 days. Um, yeah. Of course, I don't know how old this interview is, but it's got to be at least less than a week old. At this time, he was an AEW star. No one knew it, not even AEW, Tony Khan, or any of those people knew it, because he was away injured, and they just assumed he was injured. So he went undercover real big on this one. This is how guys fall through the cracks. He said he went in February 16th. That's February 16th of 23. And of course, 2 years later, he's headlining UBS Arena. Um, that's unreal. And what an emotional roller coaster. He said he was sat down and told, "You're a poor Puerto Rican kid from the projects. A lot of the kids you knew and grew up with aren't even alive today." He had a real heart to heart talk. Told him, "You're going to either piss this away, all you've accomplished, you're going to piss this away, or you're going to be great." Well, Mike Santana, I hope you're fucking great. I hope you are what you have the potential to be, which is fucking great. We're cheering for you, brother. He said that he had a little girl that looked up to him. So basically, what's in storyline about him talking about his daughter looking up to him? It's a shoot. It's not a work. It's a shoot. He really feels this way. It's real. What he said about AEW is so commendable. He said he has to keep growing. That's why he left AEW, because basically he knew he had hit the glass ceiling, and he wasn't going to grow there. And he could have stayed at AEW and collected a massive paycheck. They were paying him a massive amount of money. He could have sat there and collected a paycheck, but he wanted to go to TNA and become what he knew he could become. And of course, that might just be TNA World Heavyweight Champion on a company on the verge of having their biggest television deal ever, and he could be the face of that company. So obviously, he's probably made the right decision. He said there was no heat, there was no hard feelings. It's just the wrestling business. People come, they go, and they do, and they have. I mean, here AJ Styles is maybe about to come back to TNA. Look at that's the come to go story of all come to go stories. He said he needs to do what was best for him, what was best for his career, what was best for his sanity. I've been talking so much about mental health. I'm glad he brought that up. He said Was he feared? Was he worried? He said, of course he was. He was leaving a guaranteed paycheck of a lot of money. I can't believe he did that, you know. And he is the kind of guy I want to get behind and support. He truly isn't about the money, and he's already proven it this young in his career. He said he knew where he wanted to be. He knew the work he was willing to put in. That's why he was willing to make the sacrifice of leaving the AEW contract and head to TNA. And look, he's going to UBS Arena. He's going to be in front of one of probably their biggest crowd ever on the most landmark event the company's ever had in company history. He's a part of the best storyline that's probably ever been told in company history. If he wins this, it is the best storyline. This is the biggest event if he wins this. And if he doesn't, it would be a huge letdown on TNA's part. So he has to win this. He asked, and essentially he said he begged to be released from AEW, and they kept on denying him, and then they put him in his feud with his old partner, and but he had just kept on asking and asking and asking, and they just set him at home and paid him to sit at home, and finally they did release him, but he had to pretty much beg for it. Oh man, it just gets more heartfelt. He says he was good friends with Josh Alexander, so he had his ear to the ground at TNA. He knew what was going on there, and he had a lot of friends at TNA, and he wanted to be a part of the growth that is TNA wrestling. And as a TNA fan, how can you not support this guy? He is tremendous. He's got a good story. He's a hell of an entertainer. He's a great wrestler. He is everything you'd want. He truly is. And I'm not meaning this, I don't mean this in a bad way, any way possible. He's the next fucking AJ Styles. He's the next poster boy. But he can be better than AJ Styles. Because AJ didn't get the trigger pulled, was never given the reign to the company. When after Eric Bischoff got there, he was playing like a sidekick to Ric Flair. Mike Santana can be what AJ Styles should have been. He can be their flag. He can be their mainstay. He can be their Sting to WCW, their Goldberg to WCW. Mike Santana can be that to TNA. He can be the guy who changes it all for TNA wrestling. Truly, this is the biggest moment in TNA company history. They talked about when TNA hit the resurgence and how when it was Impact Wrestling, it was. I quit watching. I quit watching. Kent Jones quit watching. Um, I just quit watching. I think a lot of people quit watching. He said when they Frankie Kazarian brought the box out and they brought TNA back, that was the moment. You knew it was on like Donkey Kong. Then we hear these rumors of this TV deal being worth $10 million. It is on, baby. Hey, if you're in our way, if you're in TNA's way, you are in our way as fans, as wrestlers, as human beings. You are in our fucking way. We're gonna mow you down. And in Mike Santana's words in this interview, I was ready to run through a wall. He said, if you're not rooting for TNA after watching that, just come on, man. You're not a fan. You're not a pro wrestling fan. The biggest part is they're delivering after that. They're bringing it to the dance. They're being better than they've ever been. They're gonna get the biggest TV deal they've ever had. It is it's huge, man. Slammiversary is going to be huge, and what follows it has the potential to be it. It has the potential to be it. Ariel said when they departed with Scott D'Amore, they thought it was this. Oh, here we go again. TNA is gonna nosedive again, and that didn't happen. They continued to hit the gas. It was a big. It was very scary when Scott D'Amore left because it felt like this was the end, and it wasn't. But it felt like that because we had seen it all before. Even in the storylines, Bobby Roode had hit the pinnacle, and they just didn't hit. That's what I feel like. If Mike Santana doesn't win the World Heavyweight title at Slammiversary, they're almost there. They're almost there. They're almost there. They're almost there. If that doesn't happen, they're going to nosedive. That's just how I feel. He said that the reason it never was going to happen was the locker room wasn't going to allow it. That locker room bleeds TNA. And It is the ECW story that never happened when they went up to success, but then got to the top and just the tightness of the locker room, the wanting to succeed of the locker room. This is everything ECW was not. They didn't have the final moment. This is everything that that TNA has almost been there so many times with the Spike TV era. This could be it. This could be the moment, and I can taste it. I've been calling for it for years. This could be it. Mike Santana said this is a huge difference than the first time he was with TNA. That everything is completely different. These guys are hungry. They bleed TNA. It's in their blood, and they're just flat out fucking hungry. Ariel said the WWE partnership is surreal. It is. I mean, from a time when BKM was cutting promos about the $1 Million Challenge, and Vince McMahon just would not acknowledge TNA's existence, and how they pretty much got on their hands and knees and begged the WWE to bring them up, and they just wouldn't do it. To completely working with them, it's just huge. But that's the difference in Vince McMahon and Triple H. I think that's the real reason why we're seeing it. Ariel said he interviewed Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy said, "Let's be real. It's about hurting AEW, propping up TNA to hurt AEW." Um, I don't know why WWE is doing it. I really think it's because Triple H isn't in control and Vince McMahon is no longer in control. I think that's the real reason. I'm with Mike Santana. He said he believes partnerships help everyone. I can remember back in the day, I would always go on these rants about why does Vince McMahon not work with TNA? Why doesn't he work with New Japan? Why doesn't he work with this organization or that organization? Because it would only help his brand. It would help him be more creative. I mean, they just wired the system into their storylines this past week on NXT. That wouldn't even have been an option had they not had a working relationship with TNA. They got the Trick Williams thing, the title versus title for the women's title versus the Knockouts title. Those are all things that are happening because of this great deal, and they wouldn't have been possible had it not been for what the TNA WWE relationship means. This deal has been tremendous, and I mean, imagine if TNA gets on mainstream television, what that would do for WWE if they get a big TV deal. That's just another network pumping their product. So then it becomes beneficial to the WWE even more. But the creative stories that they were able to tell on NXT, I hopefully when TNA gets a big TV deal, it'll prompt them to intertwine with Raw and SmackDown because maybe they'll feel like it's more of a fair trade off. I just can't wait. I can't wait for the TV deal. I can't wait for TNA and WWE to work more together. I absolutely cannot wait. Everybody is benefiting from this. I don't have to tell you, I would never even consider watching WWE programming. I've watched WWE programming today. I watch NXT because of this relationship. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And there's lots of fans like me that have had the mold's been broken. And I tune in, I see Cody Rhodes doing his thing, and I like it. I see John Cena doing his thing, and I like it. I've been talking about how he should turn heel for years, and all that's because of the TNA WWE relationship. I would never even consider it because I just didn't like Vince. I never liked Vince. I never liked what happened with Owen Hart. I just wouldn't consider watching his product because of it. And I've given him a chance because they gave TNA a chance. That's my brand, and they gave TNA a chance. And he said that a lot of NXT guys are getting experience working with TNA guys because the TNA guys are more seasoned. They have more experience, and some of the NXT guys are a bunch of young up and comers. So they basically go to school every time they show up at TNA. I mean, everybody is winning in this situation, and I don't know why you wouldn't be for it. He said Mike Santana doesn't feel like an outsider at NXT locker rooms because hell, I mean, he's worked in AEW, he's worked with a lot of like Ethan Page, and he worked with Jordan Grace at TNA. He's worked with so many talents at NXT. Um, Ricky Ricky Starks. He's worked with him. He's worked with a lot of the guys that are on the NXT roster when they were in AEW or when they were in TNA the first time around with TNA. So he's worked with most of these guys he's already been in the ring with, or on the independent circuit he's ran into them. So he knows these guys. He's not an outsider. He said that when he went in for his interview at Battleground, he didn't feel like he had finally made it. He felt like it was another day at the office. I personally respect that answer because the WWE is not the end all be all. Being at the top of the business is the end all be all. Wherever you may do that, that's what you should be striving for. Whether that's Ring of Honor, whether that's TNA, whether that's New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, there's guys that have made it in New Japan. They're clearly, when you look at what the Bullet Club did, they were at the top of the business. They were making more money than anybody else, and they didn't work for the E or TNA. So you can make it anywhere you want to make it. And as much as I hate the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega proved that. He said, "Was there excitement?" Of course, there was excitement. He was on the biggest stage of them all, which I don't think WWE is the biggest stage. I think any stage you make the biggest stage. When it comes to wrestling, if you make it the biggest stage, it becomes the biggest stage. Because Slammiversary is the biggest stage in company history for TNA. And that is because they have made it the biggest stage. It could be just another Slammiversary or just another pay per view, but this pay per view feels uniquely different than all other pay per views. It also feels very different from all previous Slammiversaries. It is uniquely different. It is the biggest pay per view in company history. Hopefully, it leads to the biggest Bound for Glory in company history. Hopefully, Bound for Glory this year will be bigger. Hopefully, the bar just keeps on getting raised and raised and raised and raised and raised and raised and raised. Hopefully, that's what we see. He says he felt like he was going to WWE to represent his brand TNA, and he said afterwards, I felt like I had worked for TNA, WWE, and AEW. I've all the big ones. I've worked them, so he had a great sense of accomplishment. He said the fact that Trick Williams is the world heavyweight champion and an NXT guy is the world heavyweight champion, it's a shoot that doesn't sit right with him, and he wants to beat that. So it's a shoot, and if he beats him, it's gonna be a shoot. It's he wants you to know this is gonna be real. He goes on to say he paid his dues. Trick Williams paid his dues. He's busted his ass at NXT, and I have said Trick Williams is hella talented. Trick Williams is a phenomenal entertainer. He's a great wrestler. Trick Williams is is good. He's good, and he's not a bad talent to have. If you're going to have a talent that's not a TNA talent, and he's going to, but Trick is awesome, and I think kicking his ass is going to be even more awesome. I think sending him on his way is going to be even better. He is a great. He said he doesn't think Trick Williams understands the weight that's been put on that belt. I hope he does. I hope he thinks of guys like AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Sting, Rob Van Dam, Booker T. I hope he thinks of all the talent that's went through the TNA meal. I hope he thinks about all the guys. In fact, I don't know if Booker T ever won the TNA title. I don't think he did. But he definitely was dancing with the TNA title, and all the talent that came around the TNA title, what they represent to the business. I the ups, the downs, the thing with Jeff Hardy at Victory Roads, uh, the Samoa Joe handing Kurt Angle the title at Slammiversary. Uh, just so many great moments with the TNA title. Uh, Bobby Roode's best title reign in TNA history was Bobby Roode with the world title. I hope that my Santana can beat that, and because they did have the payoff with James Storm beating him, which would have been the best story on ever if it would have ended with James Storm having a great title reign immediately following Bobby Roode's great title reign. But it didn't work out that way. But I hope this does, because that's what I'm saying. That's what this could be. This could be as good as that, but better. This could ECW as good as ECW, but better. This could be the greatest story ever told. The little company that finally scores the big TV deal. They did it once, but they didn't go all the way. They didn't make it to the promised land. They can do it this time. They have a second chance at life, and it'll be tremendous. It'll be great. I can't go on and on and on anymore about it, but it will be phenomenal. AJ Styles at Slammiversary would be phenomenal. He said it at the Great American Bash, but it just adds. He thinks Trick Williams just wants to add it as a chip um, to add to his ego. Let me tell you something. The fact I can't believe that I watched the Great American Bash contract signing. I didn't watch the whole show, but I did watch on YouTube, on WWE's YouTube page, the Great American Bash contract signing. The Great American Bash. I grew up on the Great American Bash when it was the WCW pay per view. The fact that they're bringing these things back, it's just, it's, and I'm watching because of what's happening with TNA. It brings it full circle, and it's just tremendous. Everything that's going on in pro wrestling, I think about if if Logan Paul goes into the John Cena storyline, John Cena turns face again and goes up against Logan Paul, and Logan Paul beats him. How tremendous that would be! All the good things that are happening in wrestling. If Jake Paul wins I know that's boxing, but if Jake Paul wins the World Heavyweight Championship in boxing, just as many eyes as he's put on the boxing sport, as much as he's done for boxing and women's boxing, and that MVP has done so much for boxing, and I just tremendously respect the Paul brothers, and what they've done here on YouTube is tremendous. What they've done outside of YouTube is tremendous. And all of it's going on in the same freaking time. There's just a moment of greatness happening right now in pro wrestling. Tony Khan just did an interview where he said that TNA is, I mean, the AEW is the best that's ever been. I don't know. I'm not watching, but the fact that he has that mentality about his company, maybe he's just saving face. Because I don't hear anybody talking about AEW anymore. But they could resurge because TNA resurged. AEW could resurge, and I hope they do. I hope they truly do. Um, they missed the bell with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes and so much, but they could resurge. TNA proves you can hit rock bottom and come back. Mike Santana proves you can hit rock bottom and come back. I prove that you can hit rock bottom and come back. So I hope it's just another fairy tale story and AEW comes to the promised land and truly succeeds. I don't believe Hangman is going to be the guy who takes them to the promised land. Hangman just won the world title for those of you who don't know. But I believe that TNA Slammiversary has the potential to be the biggest event that we've seen at least the past 5 years. Um, what it means could be bigger than the past 5 years. It really truly could be a huge mega event, and I cannot wait. Mike Santana says he doesn't think Trick Williams realizes how a lot of people have busted their ass for that title, and he doesn't think that Trick Williams understands that. I hope he does, though. I hope Trick does understand it. Ariel says that the TNA title is one of the prettiest titles in wrestling, and how it's evolved as what it looks like as a championship. It is a beautiful championship, and I'm still partial to the big gold old WCW title. I wish the TNA title was big in size. If it had the same look, but it was as big as the big gold title, from WCW. I truly think I truly think that would be the ultimate thing that could make a huge difference is if that championship was the title and it was as big as the big gold title. He said he doesn't look at Joe Henry and think he got the WrestleMania spot and I didn't. Just doesn't look at it that way. He doesn't do why not me. He said everything happens when it's meant to, and I just sit here and I think, what if Mike Santana wins at WrestleMania? Holy shit. Holy shit. The bar just keeps on raising. And because Joe Henry didn't win at WrestleMania, Mike Santana can be in a World Heavyweight Championship match at WrestleMania and win. And what that would mean. How the bar just keeps on raising. And I think Mike Santana could do that. I think he could win at WrestleMania for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. I think it could be that. TNA can be headed in that route. Mike Santana says he didn't have a catchy song to get popular, didn't play a fake ass rapper to get popular. He was just a hard worker. He said he didn't have a big machine behind him to get popular. He said his rise is from the mud. He comes from the mud, and people see the authenticness, and I do. I personally do. Mike Santana is it. He's the man. When he says you're dealing with the realest of the real, you ain't never been in the ring with someone as real as me. I believe it. I truly believe it. Mike is real. Then they start talking boxing. They start talking about Amanda Serrano, MSG, Madison Square Garden, the fight that Jake Paul promoted. Man, Amanda Serrano didn't get her win, the third straight loss, but it was a barn burner. It was an excellent fight and tremendous. Ariel said it was so loud it felt like they were in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And Mike Santana said, "You damn right." She walked out to Bad Bunny, Amanda Serrano, and it was phenomenal. That show by Jake Paul was absolutely a great boxing promoting. He's done Jake Paul's done so much for the sport of boxing. He was talking about how loud the pop was and how he wonders how loud it's going to be for Mike Santana from New York. Obviously, roots from Puerto Rico. It's going to be insane. And wrestling crowd is a lot different than a boxing crowd. They're more, I hate to say it, they're more pumped and more jacked. And I think that man, it just has the potential to be such a great event. Has It has the potential to be an awesome event. Mike Santana says it's a huge moment. He carries his city and his culture on his back, and it's going to be huge. You don't have to tell me how huge it's going to be. When I think about the TV deal, when I think about everything that's going in, rumors of AJ Styles, when I think about how huge this is going to be, man, it's everything. What is in store for TNA is tremendous. He closes the interview. He says, Ariel says, "Thank you. I didn't mean to make you cry. But it was emotional. It was a great story. It brought me to talking about mental health, and I really respect that and enjoyed that." Ariel did a tremendous interview. He always does tremendous interviews. I love how he's played such a big role in Jake Paul's fights. He's been a ring announcer for almost all of them. Ariel is just tremendous, tremendous. I really respect Ariel. You know, it's been a fun one. Slammiversary 2025 is a professional wrestling pay-per-view event by Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling and will take place on July 20th, 2025 at the UBS Arena in New York. It will be the 21st event under the Slammiversary umbrella. 21st event. That is unreal. I can't believe it's been that long. Can't believe it's been that long. I'm gonna start at the bottom of the card and work up. JC Jane versus Masha Slamovich, TNA champion versus the NXT Women's Champion. A title versus title match for the TNA Knockouts title. This is going to be a barn burner. These are two phenomenal wrestlers. It's going to tear the fucking house down. And this is just a tremendous match, and I cannot wait. Then in a storyline, a good storyline, for the tag team title matches, for the TNA Knockout tag team titles. Again, it's just so many titles on the line, and this for the tag team women's title, knockout titles. The Elegant Brand versus the Inspiration. It's gonna be phenomenal. It's a good story. This is probably gonna be the worst match of the night. And I'm not knocking them. It's just what it is. It's probably gonna be the worst match of the night. And it's gonna be a good match, but it's probably gonna be the worst match of the night. Ali versus Cedric Alexander in a singles match. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Alexander is the name of my son, so I'm partial to Alexander. Cedric Alexander versus Ali is going to be phenomenal. I can't wait. I'm partial to the match because of that. I just love. It's just tremendous. My son, every time they say Alexander, he becomes unglued. He just thinks it's funny, and it's just going to be a great match. I hope Cedric Alexander wins for that reason alone. And then I want to go back to my other picks. I hope Masha Slamovich wins for TNA because it's going to be a great night for TNA wrestling. Masha Slamovich should win because they should just make it all about TNA and make it a great anniversary for TNA. The Elegant Brand versus the Inspiration. I really don't care who wins. But Cedric Alexander, I want him to win that because of my son. And then we move on to Tessa Blanchard versus Indy Hartwell. Single match, another singles match. That's just going to be tremendous. The storytelling is so real. Tessa Blanchard with such a crazy, controversial history is facing Indy Hartwell. This is probably her biggest match since Tessa Blanchard's come back, and this should be a number one contender for the Knockouts title match. I don't know why it's not a number one contender for the Knockouts title match, but one would have to think whoever wins this will become the number one contender for the Knockouts title. And then the ladder match. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This has the potential to be as good as the TLC matches from the 90s. This truly has the potential to be tremendous. It, I don't think people realize how good this match could potentially be. I think of the great spots. I hope that they introduce tables. Jeff Hardy doing swanton bombs on the top of ladders through tables comes to mind first. But Matt Hardy doing leg drops through tables comes to mind. Hardy Boys doing anything insane that they did in the TLC matches comes to mind. I I just think there's so much potential in this ladder match. I hope First Class win. AJ Francis and KC Navarro are highly entertaining. They remind me so much of let's see, uh, they kind of have a outsiders feel, but they Shawn Michaels kind of comes to the thought when I think of Casey Navarro. AJ Francis kind of brings me back to the Diesel days. They have a click feeling, I'll say that. They really truly have the feeling that the click had NWO type thing, but really the click. I hope First Class wins. I hope Trick Williams gets put in that group more because I loved when it was Trick Williams in First Class doing the First Class trick, First Class trick, First Class trick. I loved it. Thought it was just great, highly entertaining stuff. The Rascals are also in this match. The Rascals will fly anywhere. They'll do anything. Um, They have so much potential. And Ryan Nemeth and Nick Nemeth, the Nemesis, the Hardys, the Rascals, and First Class all in the same ladder match. It's absolutely insane to think about how good this match could truly be. This match has the potential to be as good as the TLC matches from the 90s. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you. But the only thing is, I think they're going to run out of time because Masha Slamovich in the title versus title match, the Elegant Brand versus the Inspiration, Ali versus Cedric Alexander, Tessa Blanchard versus Indy Hartwell, and then the ladder match. There's so much greatness to be had that I don't know where they're gonna how that all these matches deserve 20 minutes. Every one of them deserve 20 minutes, but you obviously can't do that. So something is gonna get cut short. And then there's Moose versus Leon Slater. I've said it before. I'll say it again. This has the potential to be David versus Goliath. This has the potential to be as good as Christian Cage versus Frankie Kazarian Kaz, as he was known then. This has the potential to be as good as that ladder match. This is for the X Division title. The X Division title is up for grabs. The TNA Knockout Tag Team titles is up for grabs. The TNA Knockouts title is up for grabs. The NXT Women's Championship is up for grabs. It's all up for grabs. And Moose versus Leon Slater for the X Division title is up for grabs. Now, Leon Slater is trying to be the youngest X Division champion in company history. Listen to the history that's going to be made on this pay-per-view. Either Leon Slater becomes the youngest X Division champion of all time, or Moose becomes the longest reigning X Division champion of all time. Either way, whoever wins, history will be made because we'll either have the longest reigning X Division champion in company history, or we'll have the youngest X Division champion in company history. Either way, history will be made. And then there's the final main event. Are you ready? What hangs in the balance? Rumors of AJ Styles. Rumors of the phenomenal one returning, AJ Styles. The comeback story of all comeback stories, Mike Santana winning the World Heavyweight title. The catchy songs, the sports entertainer Joe Henry. And also the sports entertainer, the great, talented Trick Williams, the heel of the match. Because Joe Henry and Mike Santana are the baby faces, and the heel is outnumbered, which is kind of weird. But Mike Santana has to win this match. He really needs to win this match. Trick Williams should start something with AJ Styles if AJ does show up and go on into a feud with AJ. Then Joe Henry could obviously go into a feud with Mike Santana because I truly believe they have a story too. Joe Henry can say, look, it was a three-way dance. It wasn't fair. Mike Santana could say, look, I'm a fighting champion. I'll face you. I'll give you your rematch. Trick Williams could go off with AJ Styles and have a phenomenal match with AJ. A phenomenal match. And then there's talk of this TV deal. Will this TV deal be announced at Slammiversary? We will see. $10 million contract for a TV deal. I've heard more viewers than the USA Network. Could it be Viacom Station again? Could they be going back to Viacom where they were at with Spike TV? Paramount? Could they be going back to Paramount? Could it be a deal where they're on some of the same channels the WWE's on? Because they have struck a deal. And then there's rumors of TKO. Has TKO bought TNA Wrestling? Could we get an announcement that TKO has bought TNA Wrestling? and the TNA will be featured on some of the same channels the WWE is featured on. But what a deal. This could be changing the business forever. This could be absolutely huge. I'm going to run down it. Masa Slamovich wins the TNA knockout title. I don't know which one's going to win, the Elegant Brand or the Inspiration. Cedric Alexander wins his match, only because my son's name is Alexander. Tessa Blanchard wins her match because I think Tessa Blanchard is the best knockout since Gail Kim. First Class, because I'm just huge fans of First Class. I love First Class. Leon Slater or Moose. This one's really, really hard. I want Leon Slater to win. I'd like Leon Slater to be the youngest X Division champion, and he is the potential young talent that can be the face of the X Division for a long, long time. Moose could go on to the world title picture and face Mike Santana, so he doesn't need the X Division title. Leon Slater would benefit more from this win, and I would like to see Leon Slater win. Obviously, you already know my answer. Mike Santana wins the World Heavyweight Championship at Slammiversary 2025 from the UBS Arena, his hometown. I cannot wait. I hope and I pray that you've enjoyed this video. It was a long one, and I hope you liked this video. Subscribe to the channel and ring that bell for notifications. Anyways, I'm Kent, Controversy Jones, and I'm signing out.